We play for keeps, Cuddy. You ain't heard about the huddle fire with no with D-Lane. We tryna get it off the muscle. Walters caught the pick and ran it back without a tussle. Blow the whistle, coach is trying to get back to the huddle.
Yo, 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 yo. Welcome to the 510 Huddle Podcast. It's your boy, Coach D Lane, in the building with my guy, my brother, Key McCoy. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing fantastic, brother. And how are you doing?
Hey, man, I'm doing good and I'm doing bad at the same time because, this is the year right around the same time of the year we love, right? Playoff football, get closer to the Super Bowl champ. But then again, we got to go on a little off-season lull until the next football season. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, man. Let's start here because we're gonna touch on every game real quick, and then give you a little bit for the divisional games. But we'll make our picks Friday with Zay on live. All right. Let's start here. Let's start with the first game of the weekend. It was the Chargers and Jags, correct? No, it was one
No,
before
that
that.
was 49 Seahawks.
49ers and Seahawks. Let's start there with the local team anyway. Let's start the Niners and Seahawks. Brother, what did you see from Kyle Shanahan and company? And what did you see out of Brock Purdy's first game as a rookie quarterback starting in the playoffs?
Honestly, that's a lot of what I had expected. I It was competitive for a while, but at the end of the day, the 49ers are just a buzzsaw. They've been the most dominant team over the last probably 6, 8 weeks. Um, so it wasn't a huge surprise from that perspective. I was impressed with Purdy after he settled in. I genuinely think that this kid and this team, I think that they're going to go to the Super Bowl. I really do. I think the only team that really can actually, you know what? I take that back. They're on mini upset alert for this weekend, but after the Cowboys, I do think the Eagles can match up well. But this team is just so good, and this is what I love. They are big and fast. I love this team. I think that this is one of the two best teams in all of the NFL. And my Seahawks, we had a great year. We put up a great effort, but hopefully next year, and I'll leave it there with them.
Yeah, man. I thought you guys you did pretty good. Gave a good fight for a half.
Yeah.
Niners blew the doors off in the second half, and they just showed what they have been for the past few weeks during this winning streak. Man, a dominant physical football team. Um, I know we were talking real quick, brother, off air. I think we both went 5-1 this weekend with our picks. I'm not gonna lie though, I'm a little happy that the Cowboys won because I believe the Niners would obliterate the Buccaneers, but we'll get a little bit better of a matchup with the Cowboys. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, man, I not much to talk about with the Niners. They beat a football team that I expected them to beat. Same thing with my Eagles. We're gonna talk about that in a few minutes too, but just beating a football team that you better than, and clearly at the end of the day, that's kind of what I overlooked with those Cowboys and Bucks, and we could talk about that next, brother. But yeah, you
Yeah.
kind of just kept telling me, man. At the end of the day, it's just, and it's a pattern, man. At the end of the day, you can go on little streaks here and there, but in the football season, because it is peaks and valleys in the football season, right? But at the end of the season, even if you're a playoff team or not, when you look back at your season record, that's your record. You are what your record is. That's your body of work. And the Buccaneers' body of work for this season was just bad football for the majority of the football season. Like I heard somebody say, and I think it was actually generous. Like I felt like they gave him a game or two. Somebody said if Brady wasn't the quarterback for the Bucks, they probably would have been a 5-12 team or something like that. I was like, shit, I probably would have given him like 3 wins, to be honest, me personally, depending on who the quarterback was. But let's start there, bro. We talked about the Niners game. Let's talk about that Buccaneers Cowboys game.
I mean, look, like I don't need to gloat or anything. Like it just is what it is. Like, yes, I know the whole narrative about the Cowboys over the last 30 years is Cowboys will do Cowboys things, but my whole point was it does not matter in this game. The Bucks are just not good. And let's just be frank, Tom Brady, and I've been saying this too, he has not been good either. He can still throw and he'll always be able to throw, but he just doesn't have the stomach anymore, and he really hasn't for the last probably five years or so. His offensive lines have just been great this year. they've been banged up and they have kind of deteriorated a little bit. But also with that Dallas front, they weren't not scared. They were not scared of the Bucks and not Tom Brady allure. And at the end of the day, the Cowboys were just a better team.
So
And
this is another question I wanted to ask you, brother, because a lot of people said, "Oh, Brady's done." Like last night, what did you see that a finished quarterback, a quarterback that can't play? Because to be honest, I will agree. Last night was the worst. I feel like I've seen him play since that last game with the Patriots in the playoffs. I think Tennessee when he threw the pick six to end the game, he looked bad. But it's a lot of correlation here. Bad team around him, not really the same team he had when he first. It's same players essentially from 2 years ago when he got to the Bucks, but Mike Evans isn't the same caliber of player. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I mean when I say it's not the same team. I didn't see a finished quarterback. Like he did look bad last night, but come on, man. Even Pat Mahomes, you asking the guy to throw the ball 66 times, like somebody got to have a semblance of a run game. So I think in a better situation, I could see Tom playing one more year possibly.
no, I can too. But the question teams are going to have to ask themselves is, especially ones that he would choose to go to, how great is your offensive line? Number one, and if it's not great right now, how can you really equip it in one off season to get it to where you would need it for him to play at whatever level that he can play at this point? And also, is it truly worth it at this point because he's not a top five quarterback anymore, even with everything perfect? If he is a top 10 quarterback, he's 10th, and I'm being generous with that. And I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback, even with everything perfect right now. But my point is, like, you can still win big with a quarterback that's top 16. Especially if you keep the game close, he can still sum in it when there's 2 minutes left. Is it worth it for you in that franchise to have him for possibly a year and then go back into the quarterback market again? Like, you have to have an elite coach and an elite roster to where 1 year is worth it.
And it's not a lot. It's not a lot of options really out there that
I,
has those
I
things.
think it's like some undercover teams, kind of like how the Bucks would be the Commanders, but they're about to be sold.
I'll say the
Uh,
Jets. I was thinking maybe the
I
Jets.
I don't love the Jets
I don't love it
personally.
just because they're too young, but
And the
talent
offensive
wise,
line, if Mekhi Beck, like if you can guarantee me Mekhi Becton will be healthy, which nobody can, I would be like, oh, okay. But because of that, no. The Panthers are an undercover team. Um, Depending on what the coaching situation is, maybe Sean Payton takes that job.
Miami. I like Miami. I like Miami and the Jets because I see the Raiders. I see the correlation, the tie with McDaniels. Just you'll be going like you was this
No,
year. Just no
they have way
defense.
too many holes. They have way too many
Yeah,
holes.
exactly. They don't have an offensive line needs working. The defense is just terrible. So
Yeah, so
yeah,
I
I like Miami though.
I do too. It'll just be interesting how their offseason goes. So honestly, I really don't know. Like, he can still play, but the days of this being Tom Brady and people just picking a team because it has him on it, those are over. No matter how much talent he has, um, I think those are over, honestly. But he can still play, but it's not going to look the way that it has previously.
Got you. Let's move on, man. Let's talk about the Chargers and the Jags. I'm shocked Staley. I mean, well, they already scapegoated a few, let go of Lombardi, the OC. That needed to happen. But I'm
Mhm.
shocked Staley wasn't fired after the game. He should have never been able to ride back with the football team or fly back to San Diego or LA. What's your thoughts on that game, brother, and that comeback? We both had Dougie P. Excuse me. We both went with the better coach here and young quarterback Trevor Lawrence and Dougie P. What's your thoughts here?
So first off, I just want to give a shout out to Trevor Lawrence, and you know this. I and our group chats, when I posed the question, who would you take going forward, Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert? And I even said Justin Herbert is slightly better right now, but I'm taking Trevor Lawrence, and that was on full display. And my point was, I thought he had the mental toughness because he's always dealt with the pressure and expectations of basically the outside world, and he's always been viewed as like the next one, and having that pressure and expectation since you're 16, I think that just builds you up more, and you saw that with him. um Herbo wasn't awful or anything like that, but I just think Trevor Lawrence has a little bit something extra that he doesn't personally. But anyways, I think the Jags are just a better team. The WP is a better coach, and I was not surprised that Staley was not fired. Um, I heard this on TV. I believe it was from Nick Wright, and I thought he summed it up really well. Brandon Staley, he let the media bully him from being who he was last year, which is a guy that was more of a risk taker and that would go for it in a lot of those situations. And why, when we were going back and forth about the game, I was like, this game isn't over because they're kicking field goals. And that's something I always bring up whenever they play the Chiefs. I'm like, they wonder why they can't beat them because you kick field goals. The red zone offense is terrible. They can't run the ball. Their offensive line when their offensive line, when it comes to run blocking, is not very good, especially without Rashawn Slater. And doesn't matter the size of the lead. If it's early in the game and you can't run the ball and run out the clock, I mean, it's kind of a moot point, especially when that other team, in my opinion, is better and they're mentally tough. So I'm not overly surprised that Staley was not fired. That's kind of the Chargers motto. They don't want to pay
Cheap.
somebody to not work.
Yeah,
So
cheap as hell.
yeah.
Man. And yeah, I hope they get it together because at the end of the day, man, they may be wasting prime years, good cheap years on Herbert right now, man. With Staley still at the helm.
I still think Herbo needs more help from a new offensive coordinator. But I do want to say this though. I'm not going to put all the blame on him because that's not fair, obviously. But he was allowed to score more points,
Yo,
and
hey man,
and
hey,
and
brother. I
and,
know you
and
listen to
he did
Sherm.
miss a touchdown or
Yeah,
two.
I
So
know you listen to Sherm podcast. I agree 1,000%. He was like, hey man, at the end of the day, that loss ain't on the defense. That's on the offense. Like
yeah,
four turnovers. Oh, that's crazy. You spot
five.
your team for or five. Excuse me. Yes, five. That's on the offense, bro. So yeah, of course. Herbert doesn't get he doesn't get out of here free without no blame, but he definitely needs a lot more help scheme wise and talent wise.
That's
Speed. They need to get bigger guys and they need to get some speed, man. So if I was them, what are you drafting? Receiver first?
receiver. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Receiver. And actually with this draft, unfortunately, you probably have to go offensive line again and maybe hope for a development because there's not really a lot of value at the receiver position, in my opinion, to go really high. So maybe a day two guy at the receiver position or two guys, honestly. Um, just speed guys, honestly, because they have no juice in that offense at
Exactly.
all.
Hello. All right, man. You good here with this game, brother?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the Bills and the Dolphins. Can we both agree if Tua was playing quarterback, the Bills may have lost this game?
I would say that they would have lost this game, and I think that Mike McDaniel has outcoached Sean McDermott all three games.
Mm.
I've been saying this. I think the Bills are starting to feel some of the pressure that people placed on them coming into the year and the early part of the year. Um, I thought if it wasn't for that interception that Skylar threw in the second half, Josh Allen he lost his poise for a bit. He lost his poise. Those two interceptions were not his fault, but the fumbles and some of the desperation type throws that he was trying to make, it was kind of like he said, like, F this. Like, so he lost his poise. So they skated by. Um, I mean, a win is a win, but there's no way that I or Bills fans can feel very good about my team right this second. There's no way.
Yeah, man. For me, I'll say this, brother. I'll say this about the Bills, man, because I know last week we were talking about pretenders and contenders, or fraud, who's like a fraud team. You kind of named the Bills as a dark horse.
Mhm.
I'll say this. Another thing that I took away from this game versus the Dolphins, because it's a double-edged sword here. You can look at it both ways. He brought up one thing with Josh Allen, definitely lost his poise. Another thing, another P. I think he pressed. He pressed a lot. Especially in the second half. What does pressing lead to? 9 times out of 10, turnovers, brother. I still see enough explosiveness and talent. They still need a two. We already said we agreed on that. Gabe Davis ain't living up to what I thought he could be, but I still think he's a solid two. You think he's a three. We could agree to
Yeah, he's
disagree on
solid.
that. He performed well enough this past game. I still think they got enough. Diggs is damn near unguardable. Davis at the two. Knox is a solid tight end. I like Cook, Singletary, tandem, and Josh Allen leg threat if they play clean football. We're going to talk about their matchup in a second here. I was heavy on the Bengals coming into the playoffs out of the AFC this year. I don't know if I picked them over the Chiefs, but I was heavy on the Bengals. But I'm really a lot more 50-50 on that game now because the Bengals got a lot of injuries. And like I said, if the Bills just play clean football, brother, they can play with anybody. I'm gonna be honest. If that the defense needs to get healthy. It still ain't fully healthy. Tre'Davious White definitely it's gonna be next year, big fella. You know how those knees work. Usually takes about a year and a half anyway. Clay is just now getting back to himself a little bit for hoop. But I think they can play with anybody, brother, if they play clean football.
I mean, I would have picked the Bengals 10 out of 10 times in this game. Unfortunately, their offensive line is in shambles and is probably as bad or close to as bad as it was last year now. So that's going to be very interesting to see.
And is Vaughn back for this week or no?
Nah, Vaughn's just dumb, bro.
Oh, I
With that
thought
AC,
they said he could possibly make it back for the AFC champion or late playoff push or something like that.
not it's not going to be with that ACL. No way.
Gotcha.
I think that's very wishful thinking.
Gotcha.
But yeah,
Hey,
that's it. I mean, we can move on. I mean,
all right, let's
that,
talk about the one game that you got wrong. I already talked about the game I got wrong. This the game you got wrong, man. I had the Giants covering. I think I ended up picking the Vikings. I had Vikings middle line too. I gotta be honest, but I ended up picking the Giants to cover and thought they could possibly win this game. Dayball was in his bag. He let loose what you call Daniel Jones, brother, Vanilla Vic. Yeah,
hey, man,
Vanilla Vic, you funny as hell, man. So I heard a comparison today on the podcast. They said he's like a more athletic Alex Smith. I like that. I like that. I can see that. And this kid may have a better arm, to be honest, but he's definitely a slightly
he
better
does,
athlete.
he does.
Um, yeah, man, they dominated, and I'm sitting there sweating my ass off. You know how we do our bets. And I'm just looking at myself like I can't believe I made a few bets where at the end of the day it relied on me having to rely on the Vikings defense. Like that's just terrible. I knew they were terrible schematic wise, brother. I've been saying it all year, bro. Like they're just bad, bro. They're bad. They're
I
bad.
appreciate. Look, I don't disagree. Daniel Jones, Dexter Lawrence, and Saquon Barkley were the three best players on the field, and it wasn't that close, honestly. And I just want to give another shout out to Dexter Lawrence. He dominated this game, dude. They could do nothing with Dexter Lawrence. He was awesome. I mean, that that offensive line could not block. He was unblockable. So that was awesome to watch. The only thing that I'll say more so for the Vikings, I mean, I already knew that the defense was bad coming in. The things that they did all year long offensively when it came to crunch time, they didn't do.
Yeah, I got a
I
lot.
don't understand how Justin Jefferson gets 2 targets in the entire second half and 0 in the fourth
Fourth.
quarter. I
Doesn't
don't understand. I don't care if he has 3 guys on him. And a lot of times this year, he kind of did.
Yeah.
He still
Yeah.
threw it to him, and he
Yeah.
still made the play. And again, on
The shit, the like 3 or 4 of them catches he had in the first half was bracket coverage, and he just sat down and caught the ball.
and then 4th and 8, look, I don't care what route he ran. I don't care who else is open. If you had enough faith in him to just chuck it when you're in Buffalo on 4th and forever,
Yeah.
and he had double coverage with the season on the line, you just got to do it again. So that was disappointing from that perspective.
That
I
and
think
that's
most
why.
fans could have lived with that rather than going to TJ Hawkinson, because the other guy, even though TJ Hawkinson's production was great, he doesn't detonate. Like, that's not going to
Yeah.
kill you. Like he's a really good player, but the guy that kills you is Jetta, and that was the disappointing thing for me.
Yeah, and the Vikings, man, like Kirk, just that's why he'll always be like, in that tier 3 or 4. Like, that's what separates a guy like him and Matthew Stafford. Like, Stafford, at the end of the day, will at least just chuck that bitch. He gonna chuck it to Megatron. He gonna chuck it to Jetta.
Yeah.
In that situation, I don't give a damn what the play call was or anything. And we always say, like, Kirk just deer in the headlights, man. Sometimes when the going gets tough and it's tight moments. And again, that's another reason why I was pissed off that I even bet on Kirk. He actually hit his completions for me. That was a wagon play for me all year.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, like, if you
but
look at the box score, he played well. I mean, you can't say
and
he
that's a
played
typical typical Kirk Cousins game, right? Even dating back to his Washington days.
well.
Let's move on, man. Let's talk about this last game. And then we can touch on these divisional games real quick. We got the Ravens at the Bengals. I believe we both had the Bengals and the Ravens covering, correct?
Yeah.
We had the Bengals winning, Ravens covering. And
Mhm.
that's what played out. And I will be honest, brother, I believe if Lamar Jackson played this
Oh
game, and I
God.
believe if they don't have that fumble, the Ravens win this game, to be honest.
First off, if Mar
Hey,
plays,
last thing. Sorry to cut you off, brother. Sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to give him a shout out real quick while it's on my mind. I got to shout out Mike McDonald, man. The second half, like, this is what I was expecting, that type of defense. Like they've been playing the last few weeks. The Baltimore Ravens, I was expecting that all year. They'll cause some problems next year if they bring Lamar back.
if Lamar plays, I think they beat the fuck out of the Bengals. Tyler Huntley, sadly, with that fumble, that was basically game. Um, the Bengals, as good as they are and as complete as they are in their playoff runs, they've kind of all been kind of fluky to me. It's kind of weird.
Like, something happens in the win. Like, I
Yeah,
tell people all the time, even last year, like, they beat the Raiders, but like it was
but
actually
it's
a game for like 3 quarters.
like they're like I can actually walk away from every game that they've played, even if they've won, saying that the other team outplayed them.
Yeah.
I can actually say that. I don't know what it is. They just have
But you can't
this
knock it, man, because that's part of the going on
ass.
runs. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
part of the runs. We wouldn't know Joe Flacco, man, if he didn't have luck on his side. So, that we could say for my Eagles and Nick Foles, like, we can say that about a bunch of guys, man. When it comes to the postseason in any sport, it is a part of luck plays a part in it, man.
yeah. So I don't know what it is with them. Um, I'm more concerned with them than I am with Buffalo, honestly, just because of the offensive line. That's going to be an interesting thing for this game.
Brother, when you think about it, man, the Ravens played with the Bengals back-to-back weeks with backup quarterbacks that barely survived in the Pac-12,
Yeah.
and they competed their ass off.
Well, that's just the Raven way.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. So
like I
I'm
said, I think
saying, no, I'm just saying that I got my pick for the AFC. I think we already said our picks anyway. We had the Chiefs, and I feel even more comfortable in that now. But
yeah,
you
I,
got any?
I don't care who wins that. I don't care who wins that game next week. They're going to Kansas City and getting and just losing. Like, I'll just leave it there.
You done with this game? You ready to move on?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole. I mean, the Bengals defense was really good, but yeah, that's it.
That's good.
I'll
Let's
say
run.
the Bears.
Yeah, let's run through these games. We got a couple minutes left. Let's start with my team, man. I'm gonna just keep it short and simple. My team, the Eagles versus the Giants. They say it's hard to beat somebody 3 times in a season or play a team 3 times in a season. It's true. That is true. But it doesn't fucking matter when you're just a better team. I'm sorry, man. I really see a similar game to what Seattle and the Niners had this past week. It could be pretty close in the first half, but I think we just take flight. At the end of the day, we just have too much talent, man. And I actually believe a lot of people sleeping on my defense, saying our defense, that they're leaky, they can be exposed, and they can. But when you look at our last game, fully healthy on both sides of the ball, which we're basically back at. Lane Johnson is playing through an injury, but we're just about healthy. The last complete game we had like that, brother, and both sides dominated the ball was the first time we played the Giants in like week 4. And it was the middle of the season. It wasn't like it was early, in the season. It was like week 14 or something like that because we played them again in week 18. But the first time we played the Giants and we beat the fuck out of them. And I honestly expect the same thing. That's why I say I expect us to pull away in the second half just because we're the better football team, and we shouldn't be bullshitting.
You guys will win. That's not much of a debate. I just don't know if you guys cover necessarily. And I'm just going to keep bringing up this point with Jalen Hurts. He's played one game in the last 5 to 6 weeks. That is tough. I don't care who you are. That is tough. And he was still a question mark for me personally coming into the postseason. And just with that factor, I just think it'll be a whole lot closer than what it should be. And I'll leave it there. But you guys still win, obviously.
Right now it's 7.5. Right now it's Philly 7.5.
I think they can cover that.
6-5.
Or at least a backdoor cover, personally.
Got you. Let's move on, man. We both got the Chiefs here, but I'll say this about the Jags, brother. Dougie P. Oh, I can't wait to watch this, man. Dougie P versus Andy. I really personally myself can't wait to watch this. Hey, man, a lot of Eagle coaching tree in these playoffs with Sean McDermott, Dougie P, Andy Reid, man. Y'all better tip your fucking cap to my guy, Big Red. He's a legend in the coaching game. But the Jags will be a team to be reckoned with for the next few years to come. But I'm sorry, young Bulls, this ain't the year, this ain't the time. Luck's not even on your side because nobody's injured. Knock on wood, because I want to pat everybody stay healthy. But nobody's hurt. Nothing fluky right now so far. You guys shouldn't win this game. The Chiefs should win this football game.
I think the Jags will keep it competitive, but in the end, I just think the league MVP is going to just do something that's going to make even Trevor Lawrence say, "Wow." So,
this could be a backdoor cover as well, because we all know the Chiefs don't really blow nobody out, but we can see.
Yeah.
Let's move on. These both good games. Let's touch on this Bengals Bills game. I told you, brother. We're gonna make our picks in a couple of days. I was heavy on the Bengals heading into the playoffs. Healthy O-line. It's a lot more 50-50 for me, and I believe they can be had. I'm leaning towards the Bills right now. I'll make my pick on Friday.
I'm still going to ride with the Bengals reluctantly, I think. Again, it's 50-50. I might change my mind, but I'm still going to lean Bengals just because they have this weird luck thing, and with their luck, Josh Allen might just turn the ball over a few times. So who knows?
Got you. And then the last game, man. I think the game everybody can't wait to see on TV. At least it's two of America's teams. If you let the NFL tell it. But hey, man, I really can't wait to see this game. The Niners versus the Cowboys. The Cowboys go on the road to Santa Clara to play the San Francisco 49ers. Right now, it's -4 Niners. I believe the Niners can cover that. I believe it will be a good game. Like I said, I'm happy that they actually did end up beating the Bucks because I believe they would have beat the fuck out the Bucks, the Niners. So I think this would definitely be a better game. I just don't see how Dak in the offense, like everything that I was talking about last week, how they shit the bed and implode on themselves. It's gonna happen this week, brother. Right on schedule. Just because I don't see how Dak and the offense can withstand that pressure that defense will be putting on them. And then on the flip side, I just don't think they can stop the run. To be honest, I've seen people run on them, and I believe the Niners are just a little more talented than the Niners. I mean, than the Cowboys, and they're better coach.
You won't get a lot of pushback from me. I do think this is going to be a good game. I do think the Cowboys will cover because that's just what they usually do. It's going to be an interesting matchup. The only angle that I'm very interested to see is how motivated are they from last year's debacle. That's going to be an interesting play. I'm not saying that I would pick them to win, but I do think for some 49er fans to think that they're just going to roll out there and beat the fuck out of them, I disagree with that. So that's going to be an interesting angle, honestly. I really think this is going to be a really, really good game.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to beat the fuck out of them. I think it's going to be a good game. That's what I really want to see as well. You know, just how they come out, the Cowboys, given what happened last year and everything. Do they come out button up to a T? Because they really didn't come out crisp at all for like the first quarter or first half of the first quarter versus the Bucks. That really looked a little shaky. I thought the pressure was getting to them in that game early on, but they settled in. They you can't do that versus the Niners. I'll say that for sure. I don't think you'll be able to do that versus the Niners. You got to be able to get in rhythm and settle into the game. And we're going to see if Mike is legit or not, because I believe we know Bosa is legit. I think we're going to really find out if Mike is legit on that level now this weekend.
Bosa has an easier matchup, but I do want to say this. You make your name with matchups like this. When you line up against Trent Williams, who's been the best left tackle in football for the last 5, 6, 7 years, this is where you make your name. So that'll be an interesting matchup also.
And thank you for listening to us, everybody. Check us out Friday. We're going to go IG Live. May even record it again, too, this time. But definitely IG Live at the 510 Huddle and at Coach D Lane. We'll be on this Friday. Check it Friday evening with our picks for the divisional round. All right, have a good one, brother.
All right, later.
We play for keeps, Cuddy. You ain't heard about the Huddle fire with no with D Lane. We tryna get it off the muscle. Walters caught the pick and ran it back without a tussle. Blow the whistle, coach is trying to get back to the huddle.